Hi, my friends. Today, I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it. The message came at 6:30 p.m. Just as I was rinsing rice for dinner. My phone buzzed once. No text, no missed call, just a single voicemail notification. I dried my hands on a kitchen towel, tapped play, and heard my father's voice, cold, unapologetic. "You're out of the family business, Lillian, don't call back." That was it. No explanation, no warning, just exile wrapped in 20 cold-blooded syllables. I stood frozen in my cramped apartment kitchen, blinking at the silence that followed. My world didn't collapse in that moment. It emptied. Just 2 months ago, I was leading back-to-back site inspections for the family's hotel construction firm, Baxter Development Group. I had built operations systems from scratch, soothed panicking investors, and prevented 2 lawsuits. I had worked 12-hour days, skipped vacations, missed birthdays. For what? I already knew why this happened. It was the sole proposal. My father wanted to partner with an investor whose name set off every red flag in the industry. I found forged permits, environmental violations, and rumors of trafficking. I had said no calmly, firmly. That no apparently cost me everything. I stared at the wall for a long time, then finally sat at my desk. My laptop hummed to life like a familiar friend. I didn't rage, I didn't cry. Instead, I opened the folder I had named Fireproof years ago. Inside were scanned financial reports, invoice trails, shadow account logs, every mess I had cleaned up for the family with dates, signatures, and proof. I didn't collect these to destroy them. I had simply learned long ago that the most dangerous thing in the Baxter family was trust. I exhaled slowly and whispered, "Okay, understood." I replied to the voicemail. That night, I opened a new folder, Blueprint, my own company, my own legacy. Not a whisper of the Baxter name would touch it. And as I typed my first client proposal, I felt the burn of betrayal hardening into fuel. They thought they erased me. They had just rewritten the beginning. The call came on a rainy Thursday, 18 months after the voicemail that changed everything. I nearly let it go to voicemail, but the name flashing on the screen stopped me cold. "Dennis, my brother." I answered, saying nothing. "Lillian." His voice was tight, brittle. "I know it's been a while. Dad's in trouble. It's bad. The IRS is auditing us. Please, we need you." It wasn't the words that stunned me, it was the tone. My brother had never once needed me. He had only ever used me. "When?" I asked flatly. "Tomorrow, boardroom, noon." I didn't say yes. I didn't need to. He knew I'd come. The next day, I walked into Baxter Development's downtown office like a phantom. The same halls I used to pace with purpose now echoed with silence. The receptionist blinked as I passed, half recognizing, half unsure. The boardroom door creaked open, 12 heads turned, silence swept the table. My father didn't stand, he didn't speak. My mother glanced at her tea like it might save her. Dennis forced a tight smile. "Lillian." I said nothing, just walked to the far end and pulled out the only chair that had ever been denied to me, his chair. Dennis cleared his throat. "We're under audit. 7 years. Someone reported discrepancies." I almost laughed. 7 years of me covering their tracks, fixing Dennis's overspending, reconciling Dad's secret transfers. Now the mess was eating them alive. My father finally spoke. "We need your help. You know the books better than anyone." I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "I built them." He flinched. "I'll help," I said, "but under one condition, full access, past and present. No locked files, no missing ledgers." Dennis shifted. "That's everything." "Exactly," I said. "I don't fix fires I didn't start unless I own the water." They exchanged nervous glances, but they were desperate. "Agreed," Dad muttered. As I left the room, Dennis followed. "Lillian," he whispered, "are you doing this to help us or bury us?" I looked over my shoulder. "Ask me that again after I see the books, because even I don't know the answer yet." The access came through at 8:12 a.m. The next morning, an encrypted folder labeled Full Financial Archive. I downloaded everything onto a private drive and began combing through the past 7 years. It didn't take long. By midday, patterns started to surface: duplicate invoice chains, overlapping contractor payments, unverified shell companies. I paused, zooming in on transaction tags, offshore transfers, weekly amounts, cleanly rounded, all routed through a consultancy firm registered under a false name, RD Holdings, RD Dennis. My breath caught in my throat. I checked the signatures. My brother's initials were everywhere. He hadn't just skimmed off the top, he had siphoned millions methodically, quietly over years. And then it hit me. I wasn't removed because I disagreed with that shady soul investment. I was removed because I got too close to this. He set me up, pushed for my removal. He made it look like I was the problem so no one would look at him. And my father, arrogant and blind, believed him without question. I sat back, the pieces clicking into place. I opened 2 new folders, one labeled in sheer rants, where I backed up every damning file, the other, reclaim. You did this to yourself, Dennis, I whispered, dragging files into place. My phone buzzed. An email from my own company, Backline Structures. We had just landed another contract, a multi-tower project in Miami. The client, a luxury group my father had recently lost in a bidding war. They chose me instead. Later that night, I stood by my window, watching the city lights blur in the rain. I had worked so hard to save them. I had built systems, shielded reputations, cleaned up mess after mess, and they buried me. But I wasn't broken, I was awake. They thought they'd silence me. Now, they would see exactly what I had built while they were too busy hiding what they destroyed. And it was finally time to take it all back. I made the offer at dawn through a holding company no one in the industry would trace back to me. 2 prime Baxter development properties, each at half their estimated market value. A ruthless bid for anyone else. But for a company bleeding from an IRS investigation and financial rot, it was a lifeline. They accepted within 36 hours, desperation made them fast. At precisely 9 a.m., 2 days later, I returned to the Baxter boardroom, not as their daughter, but as their buyer. The board was already seated. Dennis looked gaunt, pale around the edges. My father sat at the head, still pretending to command the room. Mom stayed near the wall, unreadable as ever. The moment I stepped in, the air stiffened. The receptionist tried to stop me at the door, asking, "Are you sure you're in the right place?" I handed her the acquisition file. "I'm very sure." Now, in the boardroom, I dropped the same file on the polished mahogany table. "You have 72 hours to vacate the properties listed on page 2, I said. The remaining assets, if uncontested, will be transferred under Carter Holdings LLC. Dennis's eyes widened. "That's you." Dad stood up, his voice cracking. "You're bluffing." I slid the investor agreements across the table. "Try me." Silence, heavy and stunned. "You don't have to do this," Dennis said, almost pleading. "We're still family." I turned to him, calm and sharp. "You made me family when it was convenient. You made me competition the moment you buried me." His hands curled into fists. "You'll regret this, Lillian." I moved toward the door, paused, and looked back. I already did. Every night, I cried myself to sleep, wondering why I wasn't enough for you to keep. They had taken everything they could. Now I was taking back what I had built for them, brick by brick. Not to destroy them, to replace them. The headline hit 3 weeks later. Domed daughter acquires family empire, Lillian Baxter's silent rise. It spread like wildfire. Investors called. Journalists knocked. But I stayed focused. This wasn't revenge. It was resurrection. I launched Foundation 27, a nonprofit supporting women pushed out of boardrooms and silenced in deals. At the gala, I stood beneath golden light, speaking to those who believed in me without bloodlines. They told me I didn't belong at the table. I said, voice steady, so I built a bigger one. Later that evening, Dennis appeared at the exit, thin, broken, eyes hollow. "I didn't know you had this in you," he said. I met his gaze. "That's because you never looked past your reflection," he whispered. "You won." I stepped closer. "No, Dennis. I survived, and then I walked away. Not in anger, not in triumph, but in peace." Outside, my car waited and blizzed with gold initials, LB Industries. The voicemail that erased me had become the first stone in the legacy I built on my own terms. Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.